Okay, so I've been trying to find a way to break this to you all. The reason I want to share it is because it's going to be so aligning. It's going to be really good for you. It's going to be kind of like doing a workout for the first time and feeling really sore for a few days, but then you're better after that. Or it's kind of like going to a chiropractor and getting a major alignment pop and maybe being sore at first, but then later it feels way better because you're in alignment. So this is an offering to you who is watching this, an offering of the chance to become more aligned, not only with yourself, but with the cosmos. Astrology. Let's just talk about astrology for a moment. I'm going to be as fast as I can. Listen, Western, aka tropical astrology, is not based on what is really happening in the sky in real time. It is a system that was implemented and effective in 0 AD, at the time of Christ, where the stars were in the moment of Christ's life. And we still use this system largely in Western culture today without knowing that what's happening in real time is not what Western tropical astrology says is happening. Right now, for example, it's saying the sun is in Gemini. If you go out yourself and look at what constellation is behind the sun, or let me say, if you were to go out and look what constellation is directly opposite of the sun, because you can only see the constellations at night, then you'd be able to see what the sun is in. Or if you use an astronomy system like Stellarium, then you can see what's happening in real time. The first time I realized this misalignment was when I went to go watch a lunar eclipse by myself on the beach, and it said in Western astrology that the moon was in Scorpio. This was a couple years ago, that year where we had like 4 lunar eclipses. So I go out on the beach and I'm watching, and I notice that the moon is not overlapped with Scorpio. When they are in conjunction is when the sign is affecting its energies upon the moon or the sun. But I could see Scorpio constellation over here and moon over here. So it was close, but it wasn't in Scorpio. The reason is our astrology is off. So we have largely been guided by an astrological system that is based off a time thousands of years ago instead of what is happening right now. And if we shifted to what's happening in real time, not only would it be more accurate as far as what we're interpreting, the metaphors from these conjunctions and alignments, but we would be stepping like literally forward in time. It's difficult to accept this because so many people are hardcore astrologers, and that is awesome. But imagine how much awesome it would be if you were interpreting what's exactly happening in the night sky in real time, instead of what's happening according to a system that was established 2,000 plus years ago. And the reason it's different now is because of our movement through space. And so from our perspective, the stars are shifting. What I read, about an inch every 70-ish years. And so that's why it's different now than what it was then. The reason I offer this is because so many of us have grown up with the idea of this Western astrology, and little have we known that that's not where the planets and sun and moon were when we were born. That's where they were if we were born in 0 AD. And here we are 2024 years later, still going by that system. And so it's largely inaccurate. And we've been basing our whole personalities around what we've been told by this tropical Western system instead of what's happening in the night sky in real time. And this is also in alignment with scientific astronomy. So to bring the metaphysical and to bring the metaphorical, emotional, mental, spiritual experience into alignment with science. This is one of the greatest cataclysms of all time, this eternal debate about which is better or which describes reality better, which is true. It doesn't have to be one or the other, kind of like it doesn't have to be Republican or Democrat, okay? Worst programming ever. It doesn't have to be these two things separate. If we bring them into alignment with each other, we realize that there are multiple languages for saying the same thing: science, spirituality. But when we bring the metaphors and the spirituality into alignment with the real-time divine expression of matter in motion, is when we will truly be able to read the energies accurately. It is June 11th. The sun is in Taurus and the moon is in Cancer. And if you go out, it's not clear here, it's raining, but if you go out on a clear night, you can look for yourself and you'll see where the moon overlaps. You look at that, you look at the stellaria map, and then look at what Western astrology says. You'll see that the difference is approximately 30 degrees. Each sign approximately takes up 30 degrees in the sky, but that's a theoretical model where all signs and constellations occupy the same space in the sky. But again, when you look out in real time with your own eyes, you'll see that each sign takes up a different amount of space, roughly 30 degrees, but some of these are like 22 degrees in the sky. Some of these are taking up 50 degrees in the sky because the size of these constellations across the Zodiac plane or solar plane or lunar plane, although they vary, but you'll see that they take up a different amount of space. And so the sun isn't in each sign equally for the equal amount of time because of crossing space and the relationship of time and space. Don't let it disappoint you. Let it awaken you. Let it align you. And if you are an astrologer, see what happens when you make the shift and how much better you're going to be able to read, going with what's actually happening in real time. Although I could understand if you want to have an attachment to the older system in the time of Christ, but I think that Christ would probably go by real time as well, while also appreciating the way that kind of honors him to have been stuck in that time. And why are we stuck in that time? Let me say this. Why are we stuck in the time? Why is our Western tropical system stuck in the time of Christ's death? Because the event was so traumatic that it paused humanity, and we've been stuck ever since in the medieval ages, despite the flashy technologies and advancements that we think we've made. And maybe by staying stuck in this timeline, we continue to perpetuate the negative programs like the sacrifice of a Christ being by people who wanted to keep power and money. Doesn't that sound familiar? We're still in that loop. So what if exiting that timeline and jumping onto what's actually happening in real time scientifically, which is something that I love about Buddhism because they're flexible and humble enough to align themselves with what is true as it is discovered, even if it's contrary to what they thought was real before, because they're open to knowing the true nature of reality. This is going to be one of the most impactful things we do on a cultural level in the US, because a lot of people exit the Christian model because of how much is in it, how contradictory it is. What's the word? Hypocritical. Not to mention the first commandment, which is thou shalt not kill, yet a Christian nation continues to murder people all over the world for the sake of advancement. Advancement. There is no advancement if you're killing anybody for it. That is not advancement, that is regression. And so, what's possible when we jump onto this other train of thought? When we come into this great alignment that shifts everything. If all of the collective knew this, imagine we wouldn't be subscribing ourselves to the media bullshit on this level. Because there's a lot of it on a lot of levels. One of them is, okay, which brings me back to the Christianity thing. A lot of people exit Christianity and get into the metaphysical. It's a journey. Just because you exit Christianity doesn't mean you're right. Doesn't mean you're holier than thou, because it in itself is a journey to find out what is true. Not everybody in the spiritual community is a good person. Although I would say a lot of people in the spiritual community are in the journey of becoming a better person. I digress. Getting into a more metaphysical practice leads one into astrology, but Western and tropical astrology is a trap to keep you stuck in a different way, to keep you stuck in the 0 AD timeline and karmic loop. And so our next part of the journey is to exit the trap and to come into an elevated understanding and learn the lesson. It is not enough to be told something. Being told is not enough. Trust yourself. Validate with your own eyes. Look yourself. Do not depend on this screen. Do not depend on AI. Do not depend on the internet to give you all of the answers, because you were born equipped with all of these incredible senses. Go out and look for yourself. And then you may say, well, I don't have time. I don't have time to go watch Moonset at 11:30. I don't have time to look at things with my own eyes. I'm trying to pay bills. Okay, well, that brings me, what if this alignment helps us exit that matrix? What if this alignment helps us really come into the truth of who we are? And I also offer this lesson, which was one of my lessons when I realized the difference between Western tropical astrology and true sidereal astrology, which is that it is best not to let anybody tell you who you are. You get to find that out. And other people's perceptions is a whole different story. But it's up to you, it's up to us to know and trust ourselves and who we are and our own senses for navigating the world and this life. So don't be overly reliant and dependent on others to do that for you. This video is long, but I had to tell you, I've been trying to figure out how, and this is my best start. So I hope it helps. Sorry if it hurts, but it'll be better in the long run for you to know this. Thanks for taking it with grace.